How the European steel industry can keep a world leading role in the short and long term?
Well, I think that both in the short and the long term, this will need to be done via continued research and innovation. That is very important because in Europe we see that we are good at research but not so good at innovation, meaning that to put research up to what we call technology readiness level 9, overcoming the so-called valley of death, and also of course then industrially implement the technology. At that stage, in that point, the technology has become BAT, which means that it has become a best available technique, which also means that it's technically and economically viable. That is crucial. But for this, as I already mentioned earlier today, we need to work together within the steel industry, but also cross-sectoral with the other, let's say, industry sectors. When we are thinking about the energy generators, so when we are thinking about the chemical industry, because in fact everything is linked with each other. The pathways to, let's say, low carbon steel industry, you have the smart carbon usage, you have the carbon direct avoidance. You need to have, let's say, all the chain on board in order to make this a success. Next to the continued product development is also very important when we think about an enhanced contribution to circular economy via, for instance, eco-design and enhanced reuse, further development of lightweight steels, etc. Steel is in fact the perfect material contributing to an enhanced circular economy because it can be recycled over and over again. Steel is being used, it is not being consumed. So it's really a permanent material that has already been acknowledged by a British standard as well. So, and of course, steel has been so far a very important material for society, and it will remain to be a key material also into the future, as we all can read in the book of Professor Allwood, Sustainable Material with Both Eyes Open. So I think it's very important that we continue our research and innovation and that we make, let's say, the breakthrough technologies up to the level that they can be industry implemented, which means technically and economically viable.
Thank you. How can industry convince citizens that European steel is green?
Well, that's in particular, I would say, via very good communication. And that's important also via the availability of good data, supporting, let's say, the communication really in a bottom-up approach way. I would say that a lot of effort has already been done by the European steel producers. I already showed you this morning as well about, let's say, when we look at the total production of crude steel over the time, if we look to the relative decoupling that has been made related to the energy consumption, but also related to the CO2 emissions, we already came a long way. But of course, everything has got its limits, and the current available technologies, I would say, they are still very limited in order to improve them. So there, of course, we are looking then to the breakthrough technologies that we have just been talking about. But next to that as well, we have, of course, also best available techniques reference documents that are falling under the Industrial Emissions Directive, where there is one existing with decisions on bad conclusions for the iron and steel production, also one for the ferrous metal processing BREF. And this is an exercise that is being run by the Commission, by the industry stakeholders, by the ENGOs, by the competent authorities, and at the end they are based on data. They are deciding on, let's say, what first of all, what is BAT, what is best available technique, and also then also they set related to those BAT that have been identified associated emission levels. And those emission levels, they are making, let's say, they're setting the legal reference for the permits. So that also means that in a timeline of every 10 years, I would say, or maybe a little bit more, that also, let's say, some further capex needs to be made, so capital investment by the industry, in order, let's say, to comply with the BAT ILs, again, that are the legal reference for the emission limit values. So that is that's important. So on CO2, we have the breakthrough technologies, and different solutions are in the pipeline, but they all have a different, or plenty of them have a different timeline and also different price ticket. You also need to look at the current situation of, let's say, the integrated mill or the EAF mill, where it is located, etc. So there also one size cannot fit all. So you need, let's say, multiple solutions, I would say, in order to contribute to an enhanced also mitigation of the CO2. This is a top priority for the European steel producers because also the board committed very much that the CO2, enhanced CO2 mitigation for the breakthrough technologies to have them, let's say, further innovated and implemented into the industry is a top priority for Eurofair and its members. So, and we will continue on that. We will further communicate with the citizen as well in order to try to make them understand the importance of keeping, let's say, steel production in Europe.
Thank you very much.